Around the residence of Russian President Vladimir Putin in Valdai, 12 towers and elevated positions for the deployment of the Pantsir-S1 anti-aircraft missile system have already been discovered. This was noted by Radio Liberty journalist Mark Krutov, based on data from analyst Jembob. How many air defense towers does Putin need to cover his Valdai residence, where, as is known, his sons and their mother, Alina Kabaeva, spent quite a lot of time? He wrote. The journalist published a map with marks indicating where exactly the Pantsir-S1 anti-aircraft missile systems could be located. Another OSINT analyst, Jembob, also analyzed new satellite images that showed air defense systems around Valdai. The researchers also found at least one S-400 SAM site near Putin's residence. The analysts jokingly labeled these air defense towers Flaktürm towers, similar to the German air defense towers from World War II. As early as July the 17th, 2025, satellite images showed that Russian troops had concentrated at least 7 Pantsir-1 air defense systems around the residence of Russian President Vladimir Putin in Valdai, Leningrad Oblast. On July the 5th, the media reported that the Russians had installed a Pantsir-S1 air defense system in Ryabinovi Island, not far from Putin's residence in Valdai. Satellite photos taken on May the 6th, 2024, show the system installed on a special tower in the middle of a forest. On May the 8th, it was reported that increasingly more air defense system dummies were being installed on Russian territory. In particular, mock-ups of the S-300 and S-400 anti-aircraft missile systems were being installed in the Far East. Earlier satellite images of the Pantsir-S1 air defense system, 10 kilometers from Putin's residence in Novo-Agaryovo, were previously published by the Siren publication. The images were filmed in early January 2023. Several more air defense systems were discovered about 2 kilometers from the Ostafyevo airfield belonging to the Russian Defense Ministry, as well as near Putin's alleged residence near Krasnaya Polyana in the Krasnodar territory. It was previously reported that the Pantsir-S1 was installed on the roof of the Russian Defense Ministry building. According to the information, the number of Pantsir forces around Putin's residence is only 5 times less than the number of anti-aircraft towers in Moscow, which has a population of more than 20 million. It should be noted that Vladimir Putin's residence in Valdai is home to his wife Alina Kabaeva and 2 sons. Pantsir systems are short to medium-range air defense systems typically used to take out aircraft, helicopters, missiles, or smaller incoming threats, like drones. Known by their NATO moniker, the SA-22 Greyhound, these systems can intercept targets between 12 and 25 miles away. Further reports by Nexta, an Eastern Europe-based outlet, identified surface-to-air missile S-300/400 systems and several long-range radar stations deployed around the Valdai residence. Military analysts do not rule out that even more could be hidden among the dense forestry. Earlier, Ruslan Pukov said that the head of the Moscow-based Center for Analysis of Strategies and Technologies and a member of a Russian Ministry of Defense Civilian Advisory Board, cited by ISW, this focal air defense coverage is meaningless at scale. He said that it still allows Ukrainian drones to bypass Russian air defenses and strike from uncovered directions. Valdai, situated in Russia's Novgorod region, is one of several of Putin's retreats. Other notable residences include Bocharov, Rushi, and Sochi, and various official buildings in Moscow. The 1st Azov Corps of the National Guard has taken up defensive positions in the Pokrovsk sector in order to block attacking Russian forces, the unit reported. Pokrovsk, a frontline town in Donetsk Oblast, has for months been one of the most heavily contested battlegrounds of Russia's offensive in eastern Ukraine. Azov said its forces arrived in the area several days ago. The unit described the situation along the Pokrovsk axis as complex and dynamic, with Russian troops attempting to advance while reportedly suffering losses in both personnel and equipment. Azov units have already implemented measures to block Russian forces in the area, and the results will be reported later, the statement read. The news comes as Russian forces made a push toward the Dobropilya-Kramatorsk highway in Donetsk Oblast, reportedly piercing Ukrainian defenses and seizing positions in nearby settlements to support further offensive operations. Dobropilya lies 94 kilometers northwest of Russian-occupied Donetsk and about 22 kilometers north of embattled Pokrovsk. Ukrainian brigades, severely under strength in infantry, are battling to hold the line against Russian advances in Donetsk Oblast, even as Russian forces have seemingly learned to target weak points in the Ukrainian defense. Civilian evacuations from contested or occupied areas remain extremely dangerous, with Russian forces repeatedly accused of targeting non-combatants. The first Azov Corps was formed earlier this year as part of a broader reform toward a new corps system. The unit takes its name from the Azov Brigade, a unit that traces its roots to the start of Russian aggression in 2014 and whose fighters took part in some of the heaviest battles of the war, including the Russian siege of Mariupol in 2022. The commander of the battalion of the 47th Separate Mechanized Brigade Magura, Alexander Shirshin, called for right decisions to be made to stabilize the front line in the Pokrovsk sector. While we continue to advance, storming the crucial ruins of houses, concentrating capable forces in the Sumy direction, we have a difficult situation in the Pokrovsk direction. It is very similar to the events during the surrender of Ocheretine, which created chaos, a critical situation in the area, and subsequently ensured the enemy's success in the occupation. It is important to make the right decisions now, even if they entail undesirable consequences, but will preserve our capabilities and allow us to stabilize the front, he said. Earlier, it was reported that the Russian invaders were advancing in the area of Kucherevyi Yar, Zoloty Kolodiaz, and Maisk,